Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bestiary Boys, where we take deep dives into bestiaries and monster manuals. And today, Joey, we're talking about a very interesting creature, which is what?
The fairy.
The fairy. I really love what Free League did here, which we'll get into very shortly. But why don't you kick it off and let's see what this quote says.
The quote of the fairy is, "The hair and wings of a fairy can be brewed into a powerful love potion, but be sure to kill the little bugger, or you and your lover will be haunted by vengeful fairies for the rest of your lives." By Phasmo Kvagger, Drugmonger.
It's a great sort of preface or prologue to what these things are, because I just read them right before we recorded, and they're devious little bastards, and I'm really glad that Free League went all in with these fairies and didn't turn them into just Tinkerbells. They're more like Una from Legend, not to bring Legend back, but you know, they're a little more mischievous, mischievous, a little more jealous, a little more, you know, they love to do pranks.
Yeah, but it's good to bring up Una because that's who Bunny Cat Likes brought up in our Chaos Demon video when she asked about if we're going to cover fairies. That was who she had in mind. And yes, Bunny Cat Likes, these fairies they're like
dark.
That.
They're dark.
Darker.
She was asking, hey, cover dark fairies. Like, here we go. I think this is dark enough, but let's check out the artwork from David Brascala. Cool as always. It's very elf-like, which is described in the description, of course. And they have kind of like a they remind me a lot of, what are the elves
Na'vi?
From? Kind of like that, but even before that, the facial structure reminds me of, was it the elves in the old Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings or Hobbit? The way they were drawn, where their kind of upper lip area is like a little taller, and they have this kind of otherness, I guess, to them. So they're not just like a standard human face or standard elf face, I guess, on a little tiny body. But yeah, I get the Na'vi. I wonder if this is a little nod to Tinkerbell, because man, I'm telling you that skirt or the dress she's got on,
Right.
the little leaves and stuff, very reminiscent of Tinkerbell. But you can tell by the expression on the face here that this fairy is not the nice kind of fairy.
No, she doesn't seem pleased with whatever she sees walking in her forest.
I know. What is she looking at, I wonder?
It's really good art. I like the wing design. This one in particular almost looks like Dieter Lizzie did it almost.
Ah, yeah, good call.
Kind of has it has like that Spiderwick Chronicle art look to it. Mm-hmm. He did the artwork for that, but this particular piece of art, which I never read that. I've never read those books, but I was able to look at the bestiary they made for that, and this reminds me of that.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I know him from Planescape. At least that's the first time that I encountered his work. But yeah, very similar vibe to this. I love Brascala's work because it's kind of like you can see the line work, so it's not just completely like concept art, digital painting or anything like that.
Yeah,
and it's not 100% like pen and ink. It's like this cool blend, which is exactly what Dieter Lizzie does, where it's kind of like a mixed media sort of thing. Kind of like Captain Flunder a little bit.
Yeah. It's like you can clearly see the concept art under the finished art, which is really I love that. I
dig it.
I don't know how to describe it.
Makes it a lot more difficult to cut out for the thumbnails, but you know what? I'll put in the extra work for for the awesome work. But I guess let's move on to the description and see how Dragonbane treats their fairies.
Yeah, so the author, I forget who's the chronicler of this. Theodora Sneezewort.
Sneezewort, huh?
Yep. My name is Theodora Sneezewort, and I'm by far the most inquisitive and curious specimen of the halfling kin.
Halfling.
I remember she was a halfling.
Right.
So Theodora is her name. She does not like fairies, as we are about to look at as I quickly make my way back. Here we are. So fairies are the bane of my existence. In fact, I considered omitting them from the catalog altogether as punishment for all the misery it caused us on our travels. I love that.
I know, it's so good.
These things are so atrocious. I didn't even want to talk about them. At least a wolf or a band of orc bandits has reasonable motives for their actions, but not the fairies. Oh no, they cause mischief just to amuse themselves. Indeed, these elf-like fiends are not content to play innocent pranks on passing travelers. They are most delighted when their victims get into real trouble or suffer harm. That's serious. So it's like, as written, you want to kill them. Like, I kind of, the first time I was reading this entry and I read that quote first, I was like, oh, poor thing. I was kind of like Sarah in the Labyrinth. I'm like, oh, poor thing. And then Hoggle's out there spraying them with insecticide, killing them. And he's like, this is why Hoggle was dealing with Dragonbane fairies. According to Theodora, they had an example where on their own journey, they were lost for several days. They lost several days of rations of food when the rascals threw itching powder up the backside of Molly, our trusty mule. She panicked and ran straight into a rapid, kicking off her packs, which were then taken by the current. You better believe there was a lot of giggling from the surrounding bushes. Little bastards indeed.
Little bastards, yeah. These things are crazy. And speaking of being little bastards and crazy, let's, I guess, talk about the stat block, because you guys are going to see exactly what these things can get up to. And it's a lot. I really enjoyed what Free League did here, because they really leaned into the asshole nature of fairies.
Yeah,
so they only have a ferocity of 1, so not a ton of attacks, which is kind of interesting, but I think because they attack as a swarm, but we'll get to that shortly. They're small, of course, 16 movement because they're so tiny and they're flying around. No armor, only 6 hit points. But speaking of their abilities, we start with Swarm. So fairies fight together, and some of their monster attacks are performed by several fairies as a group. Such attacks still only use up the turn in the round for one fairy, and then once half of the fairies have suffered damage, they flee, but will likely come back for revenge later. Of course they will. And then next up, wings. They fly around in an erratic pattern. They always attack from the air and can only be attacked with a ranged weapon or a long melee weapon. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So if you have a sword or a dagger, I mean, I guess you could throw a dagger, but normal weapons that you guys are accustomed to using in Dragonbane, not going to happen. Granted, because I know you're a knight in the current campaign, and then Matt is a thief, and then Jess is a mariner. I think she has got a bow, but then you got spell. So that's cool. I mean, that could really provide some interesting dynamics in terms of reach for combat.
Yeah. Best I could do is get on my horse and try to hit them with my lance.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's a long weapon.
Exactly. So they also have invisibility, though. So as an action, a fairy can become invisible except for a shadow. If the fairy performs an action that affects another creature, it immediately becomes visible and cannot become invisible again for one stretch. So invisibility, I'm pretty sure that's treated as darkness. It doesn't say here, but I'm pretty sure it's like a bane on anything you want to do. But yeah, crazy. I like the touch, though, how you can still see the shadow. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But all right, let's get into their attacks here. So the first one is teasing. The fairies hurl insults and taunts at their enemies. Everyone within 10 meters must succeed with a will roll or gain an angry condition. So getting pissed off, but also those who are already angry gain another condition of their choice. Yeah. And if you guys are playing Dragonbane out there, conditions are kind of a pain in the ass. Everything's baned. Whatever that ability is, or that attributes, and then the associated skills. So that's not a cool attack. It'd be kind of funny to make up what these fairies are saying. But the second attack is pinprick. Several fairies swarm around an opponent and stab them with their needle-sharp daggers. The victim suffers D10 damage. Armor has no effect. Yeah. Gains the daze condition. So another condition. So the first two already conditions. Potential conditions. So, you guys only have, 6 attributes, so it could really start dipping down. But moving on, blinding dust. A fairy throws a fistful of glitter, just like you would imagine, into the air, which may blind anyone within 10 meters. Those affected must succeed with an evade roll, not an action, though, or act as if in total darkness for D6 rounds. And the darkness rounds, I believe, rules are a bane. And then Sweet Dreams, says the fairies. A fairy sneaks up behind an opponent and stabs them with a poisonous thorn of an enchanted rose. The victim is injected with a paralyzing poison with potency 12. Brutal. The next one is Enchanted Kiss. One of the fairies blows an enchanted kiss who must dodge, right? They got to evade this roll. It's not an action, or they got to roll and evade. Or gain the disheartened condition. Anyone who's already disheartened gains another condition. So it seems like a lot of these fairy attacks are just condition you out, man. Like bane the hell out of all your rolls. And the final attack is Magic Arrow. A fairy fires an enchanted arrow at an enemy within 10 meters. The victim suffers D10 piercing damage and must make a will roll to resist fear. So that is quite the arsenal of these fairies.
Yes.
What do you think? Are you eager to throw some fairies at your players?
Yes and no, because I mean these things could really mess a party up, and they're a great monster. They're really threatening. They're honestly, if you had to fight a couple swarms of these, maybe the most dangerous monsters in the game so far that we've covered.
Yeah, I mean, luckily. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, just because they can do a D10 damage with no armor not affecting because they're small, so they're just bypassing or they're stabbing you where your armor isn't, and all the conditions they can give you, it's brutal. It's brutal. Yeah,
I guess at the very least they have no armor and they also have only 6 hit points. So yeah, you probably need to throw a couple swarms, I would think. This would be fun to see how it plays out though, because again, like I was saying, if everybody's attacks are baned and abilities are baned pretty quickly, it seems like if these fairies are doing some successful attacks, then it could level the playing field quite a bit.
Yep.
But speaking of how to throw these at your player, let's talk about these random encounters and adventure seeds.
Yeah. So the first random encounter, or the only random encounter, it's always a random encounter adventure seed. Blah. The random encounter is: the player characters pass an area inhabited by a group of fairies. The creatures subject them to a number of pranks as they make their way through the forest. Now, this sounds familiar to Later's the fan entry for later.
Oh yeah,
looks like they followed this random encounter maybe. And if the adventurers take it all in good humor, the fairies may even give them a simple parting gift once they tire of the game.
I love that. They're like, all right, we've got our laughs.
Yeah, you ate shit really well.
Here's a party gift. I like that. I like that encounter. Granted, I think coming up with the pranks, you'll have to do that on your own. But I love the concept of this thing, because especially at the very end, a simple parting gift once they're tired of it, as like a final FU in a way.
Sometimes I worry about my own mind, because like my first thought was, damn, this is exactly how a narcissist tests the playing grounds with actual people. They will treat you poorly until they realize they've crossed the line. Then they'll do something to make you feel better. And they're like, okay, that's how far I could treat this person like shit. Noted. And if you've ever been around a narcissist, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So these are extremely terrible creatures. Pull their wings off, skin them, throw them in a jar of boiling water. I don't care what you do. These fairies are evil. Don't trust them. But that is a funny random encounter. I like that. Yeah. They just be crappy, and I wonder what they would give you.
I don't know. That's what's I think that leads or lends itself to a lot of creativity from the GM to come up with those things. Not only the gift, but like what the pranks are.
Yeah. So let's see what the adventure seed is now. A confused merchant is walking on the road in front of the player characters. She does not know how she got there or where her horse and wagon with all the goods have gone, but mutters something about ghosts and malevolent spirits. The adventurers can follow the tracks to her wagon, which has been looted of most of its cargo. In the distance, they can hear singing and laughter, and it soon becomes clear that the perpetrators are a group of fairies who have enriched themselves at the expense of the merchant. Can the player characters take back the stolen goods? Not easily. Definitely not.
Who knows? Yeah, that's a cool one too.
I would say, though, that
Go ahead.
the adventure seed, honestly, it kind of feels more, because the adventure seeds in this book kind of seem like, oh, this could be a whole campaign if you did it right. This is the first one where, like, yeah, this is just a regular adventure. Could take a session, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
What's usually the next part of the show?
Oh, we talk about how we might run fairies at our table, I guess.
Oh yeah, I'll let
Do
you
have
start,
any?
Jason.
Also, shit. So, truth be told, I read this entry right before we started recording, so I didn't have any time
you
to
did.
mull over any ideas. I was thinking about, so first, I love the random encounter. I would love to flesh that out into something, but I would also, because we talked about Una early on, and so if you guys haven't seen Legend, Una is this little fairy, this dancing ball of light until she shows herself and is falling in love with Jack, right? I believe. And then there's this kind of, I don't want to call it a love triangle, but like there's a, he doesn't want to fall in love with her, but she desperately wants to love him, or him to fall in love with her. And if I remember correctly, they're locked away, right, in the prison, and he knows that she can take like a larger form and save them, right? Isn't that right? But she's like, nobody else knew. Like all of the other dwarves and the gum guy didn't know about that stuff, and so she was pissed. So long story, I feel like, so when you have the very beginning, the quote talking about the hair and wings of a fairy can be brewed into a powerful love potion, I think it'd be cool if maybe a player character was given a love potion by a killed fairy, by a fairy that had been killed, and then falls in love with a fairy. So kind of like a Una kind of thing. Yeah. Where now, granted, I don't know how that would play out entirely, but I don't know. Maybe maybe there's some kind of discovery that the fairy who is being loved by the person who took the potion maybe knew the fairy who was ground up and cooked into the love potion. I don't know.
It could be. No, yeah, the concept's really cool. You can even make it even weirder, where it's like, what if when they're drinking it, they see like the ghost or something of the fairy that was used, and they fall in love with her ghost or his ghost.
Oh, okay. That's a good
idea. That'd be kind of neat.
Yeah. I like using the love potion because we know that it takes a dead fairy to make a love potion in Dragonbane.
Yeah. Well, the only good fairy is a dead one, but how would I use fairies
Any ideas?
from Dragonbane? Damn, I want to bring a carnival into it, but I'm not going to this time.
I was waiting for the carnival.
I'm not gonna this time.
It's been a few episodes though, so you're. I would allow a carnival adventure seed.
I gotta save it for. I gotta save it, but I think the way I would use fairies, these fairies in particular in Dragonbane, I would have them. Shit, it's so hard to like. Right, because all right, so I'm struggling right now because I had something of an idea, but then I started thinking more into your idea, so now I completely lost what my idea was.
No, make my idea better. It was very not fleshed out. It was like a spark of an idea.
Yeah, it's still a good one. But I think maybe what I would do is I would use fairies as like a switcheroo thing, like. I would have maybe like a castle, like they think it's haunted by ghosts or spirits, but then it actually just turns out to be fairies, or maybe even maybe I would take away the fairies and just make them brownies. You know what brownies are, right?
Oh yeah, from Willow.
Yeah, so it would be them, but let them have the fairies' abilities minus flying. And just have them they wander around through the castle and do stuff like that. I may make them a little bit different.
There's lots of cool ways. I remember there was an old adventure seed that was similar to that, where the dwarves, I think it involved dwarves of some kind. They thought the mine was being haunted, and it was actually something else. I can't remember which creature that was. But I really like the idea that using their trickster nature, I think, like you said, it's sort of like, people think it's something, but it's actually fairies doing it. Yeah, because it would be really fun to create an adventure or a situation where you got to design all these cool pranks and stuff. But who knows? Maybe they're blaming it on the player characters. I think that might have been something we talked about in the past episode too, where
that was the blood demon.
Blood Demon. Okay. Okay.
I think that was the Blood Demon where they were like thinking someone would be blaming the player characters for stuff.
Yeah. I like that
Yeah.
because I just think it'd be really fun to treat fairies like that. Granted, they got to get into combat somehow because I think they'd be really fun to run.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that brings us to viewer showcase.
Viewer showcase.
We got something very different and very cool. Okay, why don't you, Joey, take us through this entry?
All right. So it's from a viewer named Pontus. And I'm just going to read, they sent us an email. It says, "Hi, instead of drawn or painted artwork, I thought I'd submit a snippet of an actual Dragonbane session as a tiny short story. It shows how I, as GM, introduced fairies in our campaign. The group of PCs came to a forest land, Guyana?
Yeah,
I think that's how I would pronounce that. In search of the mythic elven capital, Golana. And you know what? Just real quick, I'm going to write that down because that is a really cool name, Pontus. I'm going to steal that name, Guyana. All right. This is usually hostile territory for an orc, which one of the party's members, Dam, I love his name, is Dam, he's an orc, happened to be. The whole thing worked particularly great because Dam's weakness was thin-skinned. Perfect. And he put a devil emoji after that. So here is the short story. The giggle started the moment we entered Guyana's sacred forest. Invisible fairies found our orc companion Dam irresistibly amusing, untying his boots, spilling his pack, drumming on his helmet with tiny invisible hands. With each prank, their laughter grew more delighted. Twisted, high-pitched versions of his friends' voices echoed from bushes and trees. Things like, "Forest folk don't want you here. Pack your things and disappear." And as if from somewhere, and as if from everywhere at once, "Armor shiny, orc is not. Polished pig is what you've got." "I burn whole damned forest," Dam finally roared, dropping a lit torch. While Zelfar, our elven companion, frantically stomped out the flames, our mage, Morgorian, decided enough was enough and fired a warning fireball into the canopy. 4 elven guards materialized instantly, arrows drawn. Through quick diplomacy and Zelfar's help, we avoided becoming pincushions. The fairies went quiet, briefly. By morning, they'd stolen Dam's favorite sock. His howl of rage only made them laugh harder. Then, Mogorian surprised everyone with a heartfelt speech about kindness and compassion. The giggles faded. The next dawn, we found the sock neatly folded on a high branch, cleaner than ever. Pranks and chants continued after that, still irritating, but nicer. Even Dam smiled once or twice at the fairies' foolish antics. Days later, at Golina's borders, centaur guards refused entry to our orc companion. Just as weapons were drawn, the fairies formed a protective circle around Dam. The very orc they'd tormented. Even the elven city commander, Viral Temsorial, was stunned. Fairies defending Nightkin? She recognized the unprecedented display and granted us passage.
Wow. That's a cool little scenario. And yeah, you can tell that Pontus leaned into the, leaving the gift, his nicely folded sock.
Yeah, which I love that this character, Dam, has a favorite sock.
Yeah, I know, right? I'd love to hear the backstory on that.
Yep. Pontus ended this email with, "The fairies ended up becoming part of the plot, not only serving as comic relief or a combat encounter. It would have been fun to use the attack table, though. Best, Pontus."
Cool.
Yeah,
well, Pontus,
that was that was a great that was a great short story about how fairies went down in his game.
Yeah, I love it. So just so you guys know out there, it doesn't have to be art. We love art. We love paintings and all that, and painted miniatures. But this is awesome too because I love hearing stories from other people's tables and seeing how they use the creatures and just the cool like detail of all like the sock, like you said. Like I really want to know
Yeah.
when did Dam come up with the idea, or when did Dam come to love the sock or have a favorite sock?
Was it his
And
memento?
oh yeah, could
Wow.
be. Yeah, I guess you'll have to let us know in the comments if you want to tell us that is. But yeah, thanks so much. This was awesome. Hopefully, we'll get more of these similar ones in the future as well. So don't be shy out there, people. Send us your stuff, whatever it is. If it's a write up like this, like a little story
Yep.
of a game session, if it's a sock puppet, as we always say. Oh, there we go, bringing it back to socks,
Yep.
right?
We're getting back to the sock.
If it's if it's Dam's favorite sock, or if it's a miniature, or if it's a drawing or anything, send it our way. archivistofadventure@gmail.com. We checked the email this time. You beat me to it, so we didn't
Yep.
we didn't miss this time. Or you can join our Discord server, link down below. It's totally free. You can DM Joey, you can DM me, or you can drop it in our Bestiary Boys channel there. So that is it for fairies. But I guess we got to talk about fairies in media. I will say that I already talked about Una. I thought that was a really cool depiction of a fairy in
Yes.
media. But do you have any additional ones that you think are worth mentioning?
Well, I mean, of course, there's like uh, Barbie's movie, A Secret Fairy. I think that's the name of the movie. That's a great representation of fairies. Um, what else is there? Oh, well, let me tell you about my favorite fairy, Tinkerbell from Hook. It's Julia Roberts as a
Julia
fairy.
Roberts. That's right.
I mean, you really can't go wrong with that. If you were a younger guy in the '90s, you had a crush on either Julia Roberts, Jennifer Love Hewitt. I mean, there was tons, but Julia Roberts. I was like, I saw a Pretty Woman. I was like, yeah, that's a Pretty Woman. I was like 10 years old. So Julia Roberts, but Tinkerbell in general, that's a very popular fairy. A lot of kids, if you know how to draw a straight line, and you're in like middle school, that kids ask you if you can either draw them a Tinkerbell tattoo or a Tweety Bird tattoo. And then later on, of course, it became SpongeBob. If you're an artist and you went to a public school, you know my pain. Can you draw a Tweety Bird? Can you draw Tinkerbell? Can you give her a thong? It's crazy stuff
Oh,
that
yeah.
people request for.
Is there
But
any
yeah.
other mischievous ones like outside of Legend you can think of though? I think that's the only one I can think of that was more like Dragonbane fairies. Like of course the Barbie and then Hook, it's like what you'd expect,
Right, like yeah, Tinkerbell. I mean, Tinkerbell. She's a fairy that like loved Pan,
Yeah,
and they took
true.
it to the ninth degree in Hook, where he's like, "I'm married." I love that movie. That's such a. If you have not seen Hook, watch Hook. It's got amazing like the set production is phenomenal. But anyway, yeah, fairies and other media. I mean, of course, there's Navi from Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. She was annoying as shit. She was my ringtone forever. Anytime I
Oh
got a
man.
text message, it'd be like, "Hey, listen, watch out." You know what? There's not a whole lot of fairies that I can think of off the top of
Yeah,
my head.
me either. So
Una's probably the most like, and as far as like traditional fantasy fairy,
mhm.
Una's probably the only one I can really think of.
Yeah,
Everything
yeah,
else is very particular.
yeah, totally. And if you guys haven't watched Legend yet out there, yet again, go watch it. It's
Yeah, we should
amazing.
just do a review of that film someday. We
We
really just
should.
need to.
Yeah, we should do like a watch party on the
Yeah,
Discord
we'll
or
do a
something.
commentary.
Yeah, there you go.
Just
Yeah,
watch
really
it.
cool movie. Una was depicted. She had this like kind of creepy look. Like
It,
she was pretty like a fairy, but also like kind of horrific in her own way.
yeah, no, she
So it
looked
was
crazy for sure.
all right. Well, that's it for fairies. Let us know down in the comments below if you have a cool fairy from media that we didn't bring up because I'm curious. And next week's creature is what?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. Fire demon.
Fire demons.
Fire demons, I guess, right? If we're going alphabetical.
That's true. It is. It's the fire demon. I'm looking at it now.
Fire demon. So we're back in demon territory, which will be a lot of fun. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with us for this Dragonbane episode, or Bestiary Boys episode of Dragonbane's Fairies. And we will see you guys next week covering the Fire Demon.